So there is a phenomena happening in our world right now, and the RV world isn't exactly exempt. We're gonna talk more about what's going on in this video, so stay tuned.
We are Charity, Ben, Dakota, and Trinity. We decided we didn't want to wait for a life of adventure. So in 2017, we bought our first RV and set off to live a life of travel in the USA. We've visited over 38 states in 3 years and have many more to go. Follow along to learn all the best places to see, RV and travel tips, and much more.
This week's video was actually inspired by an article published on rvtravel.com about a campground owner who sold their campground and has no regrets about selling. Why this is the case is something that got us to thinking, and so I started doing a little bit of research. Some interesting facts. The FAA reports there have been over 4,000 unruly passenger complaints just this year, and that is a number that far exceeds the typical 150 complaints each year. Fast food restaurant hospitality workers are quitting in record numbers, and in some surveys, most of those resigning are citing the reason for quitting is because of rude customers. Now you might be wondering what all of this has to do with RVing. Just bear with me while we talk about one more thing, and that is road rage incidents are on the rise. In 2020, 42 people a month on average were shot and killed or wounded in road rage incidents. That is nearly double the monthly average for the 4 years prior. So far this year, someone has been shot and killed or injured every 18 hours. Why is this important, and what, pray tell, does this have to do with RVing? Well, here's the point. People are losing their ever-loving minds, and campground owners are facing these same types of people who are rude in other business settings. Now, here's a direct quote from Andy Zipser, who recently sold his campground. And he says most RVers have already experienced the reservation crunch. As widely noted, the days of being able to start looking mid-afternoon for a campground site that evening are, with rare exceptions, long behind us. That's stressful for campers, of course, but it's also stressful for campground owners who get confronted by the full spectrum of negative human emotions from RVers desperate for a spot to land that night or next weekend. Now, something to note, we've kind of been talking about this trend for a while, and we've felt the whole campground crunch ourselves. But he goes on to say that there's a lot of pleading and guilt tripping and fanciful stories, some of which may even be true, of medical emergencies, deaths in the family, and there's a lot of browbeating and threatening. And there's wheedling and conniving and site requirements such as length of unit or power needs magically changing in search of a workable combination. Ironically, one of the industry's biggest vulnerabilities in this regard has been its growing reliance on online reservations, which require campers to enter information such as whether or not they have a fifth wheel or a drivable RV before showing what sites are available. When they see there's none available, then they just fudge it until something works, reasoning that if there's no sites for a 35-foot unit, surely they'll be able to squeeze into one that's 30 feet. And then guess whose fault it is when they arrive at the campground and they don't fit? Now, we have some thoughts about this, and here's our thoughts. Number 1, don't be a jerk. Number 2, don't be that guy. And number 3, just don't, okay? Just don't. Many private campgrounds are individually owned and operated, at least for now. And even campgrounds run by governmental organizations such as state parks or national forest campgrounds have camp hosts that are there to help keep things in order and to facilitate campers pulling in and out of sites, all of those things. There's also a lot of people who work camp where they get their campsite for free in exchange for doing some light work around the campground. That person answering the phone at the campground you're calling just may or may not be a fellow RVer who's work camping. And kindness goes a long way, people. There's something that if you're a little older than I am that used to be the gold standard in interactions with others, and that something is known as the golden rule, which states do unto others as you would have them do unto you, meaning treat others the way you would want to be treated. And I just want to propose an idea here, okay? Just throwing this out for your consideration. I want you to think about times that you've overheard conversations with other people maybe at the grocery store, at the park, waiting in line for something. And have you ever noticed that most of these conversations that have to do with someone else, it's always that other guy that's the jerk or rude or inconsiderate? I mean, when's the last time that you overheard a conversation where someone said, yeah, you know, I was just so rude and inconsiderate and I'm really feeling bad that I acted that way? But you probably haven't heard that conversation lately. And if you have, you'll have to let me know in the comments below, but I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts. Where did we come up with that colloquialism anyway, dollars to donuts? Because I really like donuts. I bet you most of the conversations that you've overheard paint the other guy is an idiot. Just like to present some food for thought that maybe, just maybe, we could all benefit from learning a little bit more about another colloquialism that says you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I feel like I'm dating myself with these metaphors here. Has anyone under 25 ever even heard that phrase before? Maybe not. All of this being said, I can't blame the campground owners that are deciding to call it quits. In my former life, I worked in customer service and in a management position in the automotive industry for over a decade. It was a great job. I loved working with and developing my team, and I didn't even mind the company ownership and my direct supervisors most of the time, but the one thing that made me never, ever want to go do that type of job again was the people. When I left the industry, this was over 10 years ago, and I couldn't even imagine being in this industry today because people have lost their ever-loving minds. And I am sure that campground owners will be the first to raise their hand and testify. In fact, if you're a campground owner, let us know in the comments if any of this is resonating with you. So what does this ultimately mean for RVers? Well, before we get to that part, I just wanted to take a minute to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Togo Power. We are loving our Togo Advanced 650 power station. We frequently visit the beach, and having a portable power source to inflate the paddle boards, charge cell phones, and power, well, whatever we want to power is pretty amazing. Plus, with the portable solar panel, we are harnessing the power of the sun to charge up our station, which makes for an even better off-grid experience. Having this power station also helps us to be able to keep up with making videos anywhere, anytime, by having the power we need to charge drone and camera batteries or power up the laptop. And with the need for boondocking increasing, we can count on our power station to keep our devices going even when we're not connected to shore power in our RV. The Togo Power Station is light, portable, and seriously feels like the best thing to come along since sliced bread. There's another colloquialism. I'm just full of the colloquialisms right now. You could see all of the options for portable power stations and solar panels at togopower.com, and make sure you use our link below for a discount. Okay. Let's get back to it. So what does all of this mean for those of us out there living RV life? Consider this. You have campground owners who are feeling overwhelmed and underappreciated by the hundreds of campers that are now visiting, many due to the pandemic. And then you have the people with the really big bucks. People like investment firms looking to capitalize on the new trend of hundreds of new RVers and van lifers. For them, they smell an opportunity to start buying up these campgrounds. Just take a look at the website for Spacious Skies Campgrounds, where they even have a section for coming soon campgrounds, as well as a place on their website for those looking to sell. Will it be a good thing or a bad thing for campgrounds? Traditionally, less competition means higher prices. With more and more campgrounds being owned by parent companies, it's our opinion that rates are going to be rising. Most of this will also be under the guise of new and improved facilities. However, for most of us, all we really need is just full hookups, a place to park, and maybe a laundry facility. And icing on the cake for us would be a playground for the kids. For our family anyway, we rarely hang out at the campground, but rather we use it as a home base to be able to go and explore an area and see what it has to offer. You'll have to let us know in the comments, do you prefer to stay at the campground or do you prefer to just go out and explore? If you'd like to read more about what it's like to own and operate a campground, there's a book that just came out by Andy Zipser, who is the campground owner with no regrets about selling. You can find it on Amazon at the link below, and maybe it's just a good idea for all of us RVers to have a better understanding of what campground owners and managers are facing too, as we all move forward in this post-pandemic world of RV travel and living. And since this is the video with all of the colloquialisms, maybe it's a good thing to add in one more about walking a mile in someone else's shoes. Something to remember and consider as you interact with campground owners and campground management. There's a lot about which require campers to enter information.
Mason.
If you'd like to read and hear, you're making me mess up. There's way more that's always going on behind the screen, people. Just trust me, more going on behind the screen. Stop. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'm gonna put some videos that I think you might like right up here. And if you'd like to read more about this topic in depth, you can jump over here and read it on the blog. And if you wanna join our insiders group to be part of our summer caravan, you can do that right over here. Until next time, if we don't see you around the campground or out there on the road, we'll see you in the next video.